Am I the asshole for not allowing my mother-in-law to share her story with my 5-year-old, 36 female here and mother of 2 little girls, 5 female and 3 female? I love my husband, let's call him John. But we don't see eye to eye on this issue, and I could use some advice. I started dating my husband my freshman year of college, so I've spent a fair bit of time with his family over the years. My husband grew up with his parents and 3 younger brothers. His mother, let's call her Julia, is very reserved, and even John didn't know much about her. Once in college, John told me that he didn't know anything about his grandfather, including whether he was even alive. I thought this was a bit strange coming from a family that shares everything, but I didn't think too much about it at the time. When I was pregnant with my older daughter, Julia called and asked if we could come over and talk about some things. I knew this was serious, since my husband's family doesn't really have deep conversations with each other or talk about their emotions. I truly thought someone was sick or had died. When John and I got to the house, Julia was already in tears. She told us she was sad when she found out we were having a girl because she'd worry for the rest of her life about someone hurting her. She then told us that her parents split when she was young, and that when she'd visit her dad's house, he'd sexually abuse her. This lasted from ages 6 to 9, until Julia finally told her mother. Julia told us she'd never told her boys because she didn't want them to worry about her, but wants us to know so we understand the importance of educating and protecting our child. It was honestly difficult for us to hear, especially for my husband, but I appreciated her sharing it with us and thinking about the safety of our child. My older daughter is incredibly close to Julia. She loves going to her house and always asks me when she'll get to see her grandma. My daughter actually started kindergarten last week, and it's been an exciting change for her. Over the weekend, we went to my in-laws' house for dinner, and Julia pulled me aside at one point and asked if we could talk in private. She basically said that my oldest daughter is growing up and starting kindergarten, and she wants to talk to her about what happened to her as a child. Julia said she wants her to understand that not all adults are good even if they're nice, teach her the importance of sticking up for herself, and let her know that she can talk to her or other family members if she's ever in an unsafe situation. To be honest, I was taken aback by this request. It was difficult for me as an adult to hear about what happened to Julia, and my daughter is only 5 years old. I honestly think this story will either go over her head or she'll be really upset to know someone she loves so much was harmed. I told my mother-in-law I really appreciate her looking out for my daughter, but I think this life story might be a bit too much for her right now. I assured my mother-in-law that I've talked to her about her anatomy bad touches, and let her know that she needs to tell me if something ever makes her feel scared or uncomfortable. I told my mother-in-law she could have a similar talk with my daughter, but the specifics of her story might be a bit too heavy for her right now. Julia said she understands but asked me to sleep on it because she thinks her story might help my daughter. I told my husband about his mother's request, and he says if his mom wants to share our story, we should let her. I told him that I don't feel comfortable with this since my daughter is only 5, and it seems like a heavy thing to speak with her about right now. My husband is upset with me, and thinks I'm sheltering our daughter too much. I honestly just think exposing her to what happened isn't necessary, especially with the education we've already given her. Am I the asshole for denying my mother-in-law's request? I am conflicted and would appreciate any advice.